In this video, I want to discuss the purpose of life, its meaning, and whether we are eternal or not. Please listen until the end. I start with Baruch Spinoza, a Dutch philosopher renowned as one of the great rationalists of 17th century philosophy. Spinoza argues that there is only one substance in the universe, which he identifies as God or nature, often referred to by the Latin term Deus sive natura. This suggests that everything in the universe, from physical objects to thoughts and emotions, is part of this single substance. For Spinoza, God is not a transcendent creator, but an immanent reality. God is everything that exists. Everything is a manifestation of nature or God. This pantheistic view sees God in all things and all things in God. Spinoza maintains that this one substance has an infinite number of attributes, but humans can understand only two: thought and extension, or physicality. Each individual thing in the world, including human beings, is a mode of God's attributes. A mode is a specific, contingent, and finite expression of an attribute. Bernardo Kastrup, a more contemporary philosopher, also believes that the only substrate of the universe is the mind of God. We are modes, states, or phases of this universal mind. The physical world is mind stuff too. The reason we have no access to other people's minds, although behind the scenes there is a single mind, is because the universal mind has become partitioned through the brain. The brain acts as that barrier or boundary which dissociates the illusory self within us from the universal mind. We are dissociated phases or personalities of God. If you agree with this, imagine a glass cup that has fallen on a tile floor and broken into pieces. For an alien who has fallen from the sky and is unaware of this glass cup, seeing the pieces for the first time will not easily reveal what the original shape of these pieces was. He may start guessing based on the properties of the glass pieces. He might guess that the original intact object perhaps was made of material similar to the pieces. He may guess the original object was transparent, made of silica, soda, lime, materials that make up glass. What if part of the original object was clay? It would not be understood by the alien for sure. He can only guess the properties relevant to the pieces he finds. Now, if you agree we are modes or phases of a universal mind, that we are minds, pieces of mind, you may agree we can understand parts of the properties of the original mind by looking at ourselves because we are pieces of that original mind. A mind needs to progress, evolve, experience, observe, listen, help, and have a purpose to achieve. I think the universal mind also has these properties, trying to progress and evolve. Every human being that is born leaves a mark on this universal mind, has its effect, solves something, shows a self-reflection of the universal mind, and helps God to understand themselves better. A mind also has a memory. The entire universe is a giant memory unit. Everything you do gets recorded in the universal mind and is converted to an archetype, a kind like what Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist, has talked about. Now let's imagine another metaphor. Suppose the universal mind is like a soft fabric with no ripple. It is neutral in its state and is only a memory storage in its neutral mode. When it gets shriveled into a certain shape, like the shape of a brain, then it gets elevated in its level and becomes conscious, and an illusory self is created. The goal of that ripple in the shape of a brain is to help the neutral fabric for self-understanding or to achieve a goal. If that brain dies, the fabric goes back to its neutral, zero-level shape as it was before, but it still retains all memories from that previous step with that brain-shaped ripple. Now, in another time, a similar shrivel or ripple in the fabric may arise, so the fabric changes mode to that old mode with the mentioned ripple. What will happen is similar consciousness will be evoked by that similar shape of fabric shrivel or ripple. This is how a dead brain can come back to life, but it is not the same person. It just has a similar shrivel in the brain that evokes similar consciousness. Now, you may all have heard about someone who committed suicide. I think suicide is not the way. The person who does suicide will be back because she was a mode or state of the universal mind with a certain purpose that, since it was destroyed, needs to come back to life to achieve the goal, to solve the problem, not to escape from it by suicide. So, the universal mind fabric will shrivel into a similar mode of that person's brain, and she will be back with the same emotions, feeling to kill him, herself again, and this time, the archetypes from the last experience of the universal mind will be a guidance and help him, her to evolve and go through life without killing oneself. When this is achieved, when the solution is found, the new solution will be stored again in the universal mind to be used in another time as a guiding archetype. Carl Jung says we are God's dream, and God wants to know himself through us. He wants us to interpret his dream. We are modes of God to help him to know himself. This is the goal, helping God to know itself. By going through life, by understanding the world around us, by reflecting who we are as being part of God, by solving the problems in the world, and adding it to the universal memory and storage to be used as archetypes when needed.